some of us may have access to paint and paintbrushes at our homes, and if you have that and you want to use that on your material to do your final product, that's okay. What you need to make sure you always have set up is a clean workstation, so that way you're not making your home messy. Also, you need clean water to keep and paper towels to keep your paintbrushes clean and paint clean. So I love watercolors because watercolors can dry out and you can 10 years down the road put water on them and they'll still work. So just take a little bit of water, put it on top, and that reactivates that color. It can be dark if you use a lot of pigment. It can be light if you want to use very little pigment. The downside to watercolors is if you use too much water, it can get a little unruly, and that's something that people don't like about watercolors. Again, in between each time I paint, I wash my paintbrush, I make sure that I wipe it off until it's clean and I don't see any marks on my paper towel. So I'm just filling in some spots with watercolors. As I see that I'm starting to run out, I just add more. Whether you're using watercolor, tempera, water-based paints that are acrylic, or if you do end up choosing to go into the more risky territory of oil-based paints, always you have to clean that brush, wipe it, swirl it, tap it, make sure that it's nice and clean before you move on to the next point. If you're using watercolors in one of these little trays, you can always just add a little bit of water to that spot, and it's hard to see with my camera that I've added water to it, but it starts to hydrate the paint. Now, some of us like to mix our colors. You can mix your color in the top of the lid, or I personally like to paint on a tray or a plate that's ceramic or enamel, because it's easy to keep it clean. So let's say I want to mix this purple with this red, and I don't want to ruin my true colors. I just want to see what kind of color combination I can make. Now I've got a beautiful red-violet, and I can add that red-violet on top of that purple here and change the tint and shade of it, or I can add that red-violet in other areas of my artwork if I want to add it in other areas. When you paint, it is important that you take a break, you pause, you let it dry before you paint the neighboring section. That way your colors don't bleed together and they still read nice and crisp and pretty, and your artwork has a good look to it. I hope that this has helped you with coming up with some ideas on how to either paint or watercolor or oil base your artwork for your Ziglyooblia. If you have any questions, be sure to ask.